To the A-plus mock drafts, it's time to bolt up, Jeremy. The Los Angeles Chargers A-plus mock draft. The biggest needs for Jim Harbaugh's team is what? Or are what? Excuse me.
The Chargers are a fun team for me solely because they've done a really good job in the offseason of at least softly addressing many of their biggest issues. You ain't got Najee Harris. That means that you don't have to take a running back because I kept putting Marion Hampton with them. You added some pieces on the defense. You brought back Bud Dupree. You brought back Khalil Mack. There's a lot to like about this team. Now, where are the places that I want to see them add? I want to see a tight end because Tyler Conklin's not really enough for me. I want a five-tech at some point in this.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to add an edge. I'd like to add a nose tackle. I'd like to add a receiver. And I'd like to add an interior offensive lineman.
And at 22, there will be a tight end there for him to have, more than likely.
This is an A+, so everything goes right for me. And at 22, I do have them taking Colston Loveland.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I think he is, to me, the difference between Colston Loveland and Tyler Warren's not that aggressive. Warren only had 1 year of high-level production. Colston Loveland had 3. Warren is more athletic. Loveland is more athletic than you think. I mean, I can keep doing this. Plus, Jim Harbaugh absolutely just loves taking Michigan guys. But, I mean, to me, you look at a team that made it very clear that they wanted to run more than you would have thought. You add 2 pass-catching tight ends. Loveland's not a terrible blocker. I mean, I think we're getting to a point where no tight end's a great blocker. But he's serviceable, as is Conklin.
Mm-hmm.
But you add that into 12 personnel sets, Conklin and Colston Loveland would be really difficult to deal with. Also take some of the pressure off Quentin Johnston, take some of the pressure off Mike Williams. I love the fit with Loveland. I have him in my top 15 overall, and he's a great fit here for the Chargers at number 22.
All right, and then they have the 55th pick in the draft.
Well, about that, they do. They do.
Did you make a trade?
But what if, just in theory, we maybe traded that 55th pick? Maybe traded it. We added 86 and 158, and we got up to number 34.
All right, 34, 86, and what?
No, we give up 55, 86, and 158.
Oh, okay.
To get up to 34.
Okay.
And maybe we take another guy that's a former Michigan guy that Jim Harbaugh is really fond of in Kenneth Grant.
Okay.
You put Kenneth Grant in the middle of that defense. That allows you to move Jair Tart out to the 5-tech. Because right now, the 5-techs on this team are bad. Scott Matlock and Adi Abanya. God, it's a hard name for me to say. They're not good. So if I can slide Jair Tart out, I think that's going to help me. I put Kenneth Grant in the middle of this defense. And so I've got Kenneth Grant, Tuipulotu, and Mack that are all 3 good pass rushers. Grant is inconsistent. But if anybody can get the most out of him, it's Jim Harbaugh. So you put him in the middle of this defense, and now I think I'm getting somewhere. I got 2 good young corners last year.
Mm-hmm.
Still got Derwin James in the back half, who's one of the best blitzing safeties in the league, and just a ball hog. And you know how I feel about Deion Henley. Starting to feel like I'm getting somewhere defensively.
Mm-hmm. All right, you gave up 86. So let's go to 125, the next pick for the Chargers.
Well, 125, now I would like to have a young piece to go with Kenneth Grant. Because I've got to be able to get after quarterbacks. I've got to be able to hold up. And there's not a ton of guys that are really natural 5-techs in this class. So I'm going to take one that probably shouldn't be here when I watch him on film. He gets pushed down everybody's board because he doesn't play necessarily the most sexy position. Savion Jones from LSU. 6'6", 280. Good pass rusher, good run defender. He's never really crossed that threshold. And the reason that I think he hasn't is because he was asked to play on the outside. Last year at LSU, 80% of his snaps were outside the tackle. That's at 280 some odd pounds. That's a lot to ask from a guy that's that big. Now you slide him to the inside. He's still young enough to learn the position. He's never really been asked to play exactly this position because it is different. I'll tell you a stat about him that I did not know until I went through the process. He had 43 quarterback pressures last year playing from the outside. That was the 8th most of all edges in the SEC. That's rather impressive from a guy that I think was playing out of position. And now my front 7 is evil.
Yes. Savion Jones and Kenneth Grant. You took Colston Loveland in the first round. Now after the trade to get up with Grant, you have 181 next?
181 was the next one that I see here.
Mm-hmm.
Carson Vinson, the guard from Alabama A&M. You did sign Mekhi Becton. I feel like you need a rotational piece. Vinson played tackle in college. A lot of people think he's going to kick into guard at the next level. I think he is just to me, he's a hydrant of untapped potential because he played at such a lower level. Am I telling you he can come in and play right away? I'm not. I do think he needs a year of seasoning. That also gives you a year to try to get everything out of Zion Johnson. I don't know that there's ever been a player that I've been more disappointed in than Zion Johnson. He's just never become that elite guard that I thought he was going to.
Right.
Vinson can be a depth piece because, look, you're taking him here at the mid to late part of the 6th round. If he becomes a swing tackle, great. If he becomes a guard that ultimately winds up being better than Zion Johnson, even better. One way or the other, he's going to have a spot, and he's going to be a really good depth piece on this line.
The second of their 3 6th-round picks comes at 199.
It pains me to like this guy as much as I do because he's a Florida Gator.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw him at the Senior Bowl, and it led to me watching more tape on him. And I've started to like him more and more and more and more. It's Chimere Dike. This kid had a 58% contested catch rate at 6'1", 195. He was also really good against man coverage, which is a great indicator that a guy can play on the outside. He played more in the slot at Florida in 2024, but had played almost exclusively out wide in 23. Tape was worse in 23. But I think he can kind of be a pick-your-own poison. You know how much I love guys that can play multiple positions.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like DK can be a medium-big slot, but also play on the outside. It just gives me some more flexibility. And I was really impressed at how well he moved when I saw him at the Senior Bowl. 23 had really made me just kind of chalk him up, and Florida wasn't good enough that I was grinding tape on him week to week to week. I was really surprised and pleasantly surprised at what I saw after I evaluated him coming out of the Senior Bowl.
Can he count better than I do, though? That's the real question.
It would be hard for him not to.
Because the Chargers have 4 picks in the 6th round. I miscounted. They got another one coming up at 209, the third of the 4.
It's Jacob Bayer, the center from Arkansas State. That would be a developmental piece behind Bozeman. He's been really popular in this process. And I'm starting to think that he's in that very late 6, early 7. I had a premium undrafted free agent grade on him, but I'm starting to think that maybe I might be a little too low.
And then 214, the last 6th round pick.
This is a guy that the team he played on makes my head hurt. It's Jaquindon Jackson from Arkansas. I had really not put much stock into him whatsoever going into the process. And then Isaac Tesla happened. And when Isaac Tesla happened, it got me to Andrew Armstrong. And then I realized this team has 2 of my favorite value receivers in this class. What else am I missing? Then I got to Jaquindon Jackson, who is an absolute hammer at 6'2", 230 pounds, and he runs like his hair is on fire. Doesn't give you much as a pass blocker. Almost kind of reminds me of a bigger version and a poor man version of Brian Robinson. Mm-hmm. But if you need 3 yards, he'll go get you 3 yards. And I'm looking at a guy behind Najee Harris, because you and I have talked about this. Najee Harris's workload makes me nervous. When they signed him, that was one of the first things I said. This kid's got a lot of tread off the tires. Mm-hmm. I need somebody for those short yardage situations because I don't want to put any more tread on him than I have to.
No. And you know he's going to get plenty of run with a Jim Harbaugh system.
For sure.
256, final pick of the draft for the Chargers.
A well-traveled edge rusher that also he has one of the best names in the class. He started at Auburn. He went to Indiana. He wound up at Charlotte, and his name is Stone Handy.
Okay, which Stone Hands is a good thing for an edge rusher.
Well, you immediately went to Stone Hands. I saw that name and immediately wanted to make if it doesn't work out in the NFL, this kid will have a very niche OnlyFans.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Stone Handy.
See what you did there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's the thing I did. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think there's some. I still think there's some juice with him. He was really impressive last year at Charlotte. Obviously, level of competition. He had been borderline irrelevant at Auburn and Indiana.
The A+ mock draft for the Los Angeles Chargers. Would you start with 2 Michigan guys for Jim Harbaugh? I guess that qualifies as A+. Colston Loveland at 22, and then a trade up to 34 to get Kenneth Grant, and adding some depth pieces beyond that.
It always hurts the depth of a class when you make the trade up, but to walk away with 2 top 25 picks, picking at 22 and 34, that's solid.
You're in the Sportsocracy. This is ESPN Asheville. Final A+ mock draft of the day coming up after the break. It is time to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs.